Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. My name is Jamie Fields Colvin. I am a nurse practitioner by trade. However, outside of that, I am a advocate for disease prevention, for health promotion. I am an advocate for taking back the power that you have to control your health, your life, and how it goes. I want to first thank Jasmine and the Black Power Initiative for even having me and inviting me. It is wonderful. It is a blessing to be thought of and to be thought about and to be considered for something so honorable when it comes to the community. I am huge on educating the community, especially people who look like me. Huge on that. A lot of times my biggest thing is that we don't see enough of us in positions where big decisions have to be made. We don't see a lot of us in the medical field. We don't see a lot of us in the education field. We don't see a lot of us in a lot of fields where we have to make some sound decisions about our health and how we're going to control it or not control it. So once again, thank you. Jasmine, I don't know if you want to kind of control the narrative and how you want it to go, and then we'll go from there. You can move to the next slide.
Yeah, so real quick, I want to speak on the Liberated Minds Institute, which is the program under Black Power's initiative that I invited you through. And so our mission, we were founded to ensure an emancipated and enfranchised future for Black America through education, intentional community building, and wellness. By focusing on these three critical pillars of our community, we will increase levels of positive and active parenting, cultivate revolutionary minds within our children, and establish sustainable self-sufficiency for our people. And one of our targets this month is health. And so that is why, after being one of your lovely patients, that I invited you because you are doing the intentional work that we strive for every day. And so I wanted to celebrate you and your hard work, and also invite you to discuss things that, you know, we don't always have the time to ask the doctors when we do get to see them. So thank you.
Oh yeah. Sounds good. So
you introduced yourself a little bit. If I don't know if you want to share more or.
Well, a lot of people don't know that even at my age, I have a little 6-year-old daughter. She just turned 6. Her name is Skylar. She's a New Year's Day baby, so she was born on New Year's Day. I will say she is 6 going on 46, but we all know have children that are like that. Outside of that, I am a sister. I'm an aunt. I'm a friend. I am all those things. But my most precious title is being a mother.
Very nice. Is that what inspired you to get into nutrition, doing right for?
So here's the thing. It inspired me to get it more into child nutrition. My daughter did. Normally, I've always been an advocate, believe it or not, for the other end of the spectrum, meaning the geriatric population. My heart, it just melts for the older people. Love them, love them, love them. However, the Lord allows things to happen in your life to change your perspective on everything. And he allowed little Miss Skylar into my life. And she was what made me begin to pay more attention to the pediatric population. I've always been an advocate for healthcare in the adult population and even teenagers up into adults and into geriatrics and elderly. But I didn't really get into pediatrics, even though I'm family, I'm the full spectrum, deep and in depth until I had my daughter. So yes, you should say that.
Very nice. So when we're talking about childhood nutrition, I know people often think like, oh, it's just what you're eating. So what is, you know, wellness is more holistic. What does nutrition really include?
So let's start with wellness. Wellness is always holistic. As they say in the world, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. But as they say in the Bible, as the head goes, so goes the house. And so wellness begins in the mind. One thing I don't think that we all know and are all privy to is the fact that anything you put in a child and impart and rear and root in them from the ages of 0 to 7 is what sticks through life. From age 0 to 7, the brain is growing and multiplying quicker than it ever will. So with that being said, good habits, good nutritional habits, good emotional habits, conflict resolution from within, all those kind of things factor exactly into our child. We, a lot of times in the African-American population, we are sometimes not that great at making sure we root specific things into our kids, especially when it comes to nutrition. Nutrition doesn't have to just have to do with what goes in. What goes in comes out. Everything we eat in has to come back out. Now, whether it comes back out the way it went in or comes back out the way it's supposed to come out is usually up to us and our habits. Nutrition also includes what we do with our bodies. What are we feeding our children mentally? What are we feeding our children socially? What are we feeding our children physically? But these are all factors into even nutrition and healthcare and wellness. I don't know if anyone has ever experienced their child going through an emotional hardship and it changes their bowel regimen. You can see the connection with that. A child can be going through something and they're wetting the bed. A child could be going through something emotionally and now they're constipated. A child could be, there's all these things that factor into that and factor into nutrition that a lot of times are not connected and we're not educated on when we take our children to the pediatricians. A lot of times they come in, they look, they listen, they feel, they ask you if you have any questions. And if you don't have them written down, a lot of times you don't remember them, but once they're gone, they're gone. You probably won't get the chance to ask that question until the following year when it's time for another physical. And usually the physical is done by force. There are a lot of us in the African-American community, we're not good at going to the doctor yearly. It's more of a I'll go when something's wrong versus I'll go to prevent something from being wrong. And we have to get out of that. We have to, and don't get me wrong, poor kids, from ages 0 to 5, they're getting a shot every time they go into the doctor. So that's kind of a traumatic thing. However, what we can do as parents, what we can do as guardians, what we can do as healthcare advocates is we can prep them for that. Yeah, you might have to get it. Don't tell them they're not going to get one when you know they are. Don't do that. We don't want to be those people. Stop using shots as punishment for your child. You get a shot at the doctor. It's not a punishment. It's something to help with their immune system. So nutrition includes everything. What we put in, what comes out, or what does not come out, or what we don't put in. That all factors into nutrition.
Thank you. And if anyone who's coming in has any questions, feel free to push the raise your hand button and we will get to you. Thank you guys for coming in. All right, so a lot of times we deal with childhood obesity. The most recent rates for Cincinnati is children on WIC ages 2 to 4. 15% of them are considered obese, but that doesn't include the chunk of kids that are considered overweight according to BMI scales. And we know those can be subjective. So a lot of times what I heard growing up, it's just baby fat or kids were losing their baby fat. So when do we need to start worrying and what are things to do besides shoving kids on treadmills?
Here's the thing. The stigma that we have to get out of is believing that being overweight and obesity is hereditary. There is no scientific anything regarding that. Let me tell you what makes our children overweight and obese. When we are overweight and obese, not one parent can say, I'm shopping 2 different lists, cooking 2 different meals a day for my children. Meaning I'm going to eat what I want to eat, but I'm going to cook them what's healthy. Does not work like that. What we're eating is what we give our children. My father, I'm not overweight. I'm not obese. My father is 6'4" and he's probably about 550 pounds. And that's after he's had the gastric sleeve. So it's not hereditary. What happens is we teach our children the same eating, the same workout habits that we have, or the lack thereof. So when it comes that, oh, it's just baby fat, we all like chunky babies, but eventually they grow out of it. But then what happens to us? That's not baby fat. In adults, that's not baby fat. There are certain things that we eat, and don't get me wrong, I will be going off on my soapbox. Eating healthy costs more. Being health conscious costs more. It costs to go to the gym. It costs to buy the 3 organic apples versus the whole 5-pound bag of regular apples. But why do you think that is? There's this big thing called the pharmaceutical industry, and they can only make money on medications that we need. You know, they say health is wealth. That does not mean that me running is wealthy. Health is wealth means that people will do whatever they need to do to live. If I have high blood pressure and I don't want to change my habits, but I want to live, what do? I go to the doctor and I get on medication. My big thing is anything that you are diagnosed with in adulthood can be erased. It can be reversed. However, we don't take the initiative to ask, okay, doctor, I get it. You're putting me on this medication. How do I get off of it? Why am I on it? What are things that I can do that can reverse this, that we can begin to start decreasing the dosages until I'm off of it? Because I don't want to be on it. We never really ask those questions. It's just, you got high blood pressure, your blood sugar's high, so I'm going to start you on some medication for diabetes, or I'm going to start you on some medication for high blood pressure, and that's that. And we take it because we rightfully should trust our primary practitioner. We should trust our family doctor. We should trust our provider. However, we don't take the initiative to ask the questions. How do I get off of this? Because I really don't want to be on it, when you don't have to. Okay. And so when to worry, we should worry from the beginning. We should worry about what we're putting in from the beginning. So that's my soapbox.
I can tell you're very passionate about that. So what are some practical ways? Like, my grandmother, like, she was used to, okay, the baby's mouth's open, shove it in. How do we unlearn that? Or you have to eat everything on that plate, or.
There you go. I was going to go off on my soapbox with that. In the African-American community, that's the one thing we said to our kids. Don't get up until you finish. Don't get up. You better eat every single thing on that plate. We are to eat until we're not hungry. We're not to eat until we're absolutely full and stuffed. There is a chemical component in the brain. Have you ever been to a restaurant and you've eaten your meal and you are stuffed to the gills? And then here they come with the dessert tray and you're like, oh, I think I can fit that piece of cake, or I can fit that cobbler, or I can fit that pie. Why? Because those are what we call complex sugars. Those are sugars that the body doesn't recognize of breaking down, so it automatically turns it into fat. So what happens is we get into this thing of don't get up until you're done. Everything needs to be cleaned off of that plate. We have to unlearn that. We must unlearn that. That is what's leading to childhood obesity. Up until maybe about 10, 15 years ago, you never heard of a child getting type 2 diabetes. If you look at the research on type 2 diabetes, that is a diabetes that's diagnosed in adulthood, but we're seeing more of it in children. The sad part about seeing type 2 diabetes, which is non-insulin dependent diabetes in children, is that one is the one that's killing children. When a child is diagnosed with diabetes type 1, that's diagnosed in childhood. That's diagnosed usually when they're really little. Sometimes it's diagnosed very early in the lifespan, and it's insulin dependent diabetes. And that is, those are the children who know that they have to have insulin, and the parents are learning that they have to have insulin because they're not secreting enough, or not making it for their bodies. But then type 2 diabetes is usually diagnosed in adulthood. And the type 2 diabetes that's diagnosed in adulthood is usually, it coexists with something else. Whether it's hypertension, whether it's kidney disease, it's always co-diagnosed usually with something else, or there's something else that underlies it. but we're starting to see more children being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and that is what's dangerous. And it's dangerous because usually as a kid, if I've been able to eat as many bags of chips and as many bags of this or as many Pop-Tarts or as many juicies as I wanted to, and now you're telling me I can't do that, that becomes an issue. Those are the children that you get that begin to start sneaking food. And before you know it, they're into some diabetic issue or a ketoacidosis based off them being told that something they were allowed to do freely, they can't do it all anymore. So it's dangerous with it all. The crazy thing, and the one thing that I want to talk about is how it's tougher for us to eat healthy. It's tougher for us to kind of live where our habits are eating. The good things cost more. You can take $20 to McDonald's and get more than taking $20 to Kroger's in the organic section. And it stinks. It absolutely stinks. And I don't even want to get on my soapbox about that and how the food industry links up with the pharmaceutical industry, and they just piggyback off one another. If you turn some of your yogurts over, they're sponsored by some big pharmaceutical companies. Why? Because yeah, this is the Greek yogurt, but it still has something in it that's a carcinogen, which is a cancer causing something, but it's sponsored, funded, and backed by a pharmaceutical company that, if you do a little more research, they sponsor chemo drugs. So it's I'm gonna leave that.
Feeds back into each other.
Yes. I'm gonna leave that there.
All right, so what's for lunch? So I remember growing up, there was a big push, childhood obesity, and they changed the food pyramid to look different, and the plates are looking different. And Michelle Obama had a big push for us getting fit and getting healthy. And we're still looking at school lunches, and I don't think any adult would eat it. What these kids are doing or what they're packing. I have students who I opened up one kid's lunchbox, and it was a pack of Starburst, a little Kool-Aid, like pour it in to the water, and then 2 Lunchables. And so I know that districts like CPS have programs where they give away food and things. So I'm just wondering, what are some practical switches that parents can make, or that we as adults, we have to pack lunch and make?
Is that, like, over the summer, the food that they were giving away to make sure children weren't going hungry was healthier than the food that they're feeding them in the school. I had looked up some statistics on the school because I was totally oblivious to it. So first of all, school lunches all depend on the funding. If there's no funding there, they can't give them this food pyramid. They can't give them this My Plate. The other thing that factors in it, there are 31 million students who are part of the free lunch program. And the free lunch program is in a little over 100,000 schools. Once again, it's backed by the funding. If the funding isn't there, they can't give them what they need. Remember, if I was a free lunch advocate, I was a free lunch recipient. So I had the lunch ticket, the lunch check, whatever they were back in the day, and I ate free lunches. But remember, it was little pizzas full of sodium. We didn't get choices like some of these private schools where they pay crazy money to be in. Like my daughter, she attends Summit Country Day, and they're big on lifestyle, life choices and trying to get them ready for life. So now that she's in kindergarten, they have an actual cute little lunch thing where they get a tray and they have to pick what they want. Well, I got a call home from the teacher that my daughter didn't want anything on there. They called and they said, Skylar won't touch anything on our lunch tray or on our, what do you call those things? Almost like a buffet. Like a buffet thing. She won't touch anything. Now, mind you, we pack. In my daughter's lunch, what I started out doing with her, so let me stop there. In my daughter's lunch, there's always probably 4 or 5 different fruits, 2 or 3 different vegetables. And my daughter now won't even drink a regular juice. She drinks these things called Roaring Waters made by Capri Sun. And they're like flavored waters. And if you try to give her a Kool-Aid smasher or a juice box, she won't even drink it. She won't drink it. She doesn't like the taste. It's too sweet for her. But one of the things that I used to do with her is I made grocery shopping an experience. Meaning, okay, we need to get some foods that are red. Well, let's get apples. My daughter, to this day, ever since she's had teeth, she eats an apple a day. Every single day, she eats an apple. And if we're out, we will run by Kroger's on the way to school. Every morning, she eats an apple. And that has been a custom now. Now she's at that age where she does eat the same thing every day. We all have those kids where it's like, I want the same exact thing every day, that face. She's there, but now we have in my refrigerator, there are strawberries, there are grapes, there are cherries, so that's where, to be honest, that's where I spend the bulk of my money. However, one thing I can say to a lot of parents is that we, some ways that we can push nutrition on our kids on a budget is that we buy organic things. They are more expensive. I will say that. However, if you look at the long-term benefits of it, it's a little bit better. The other thing we can do is buy in bulk. The other thing we can do, there's coupons out there. Always choose water. We spend a lot of money on juices, Kool-Aids, all that, the sugary stuff. We spend, a pack of Kool-Aid now is probably like $1 a pack. It was like a quarter pack when I was younger, but yeah, the Kool-Aid may be $1 a pack, but you use 1/3 of the bag of sugar in it to get it to your liking. So you got a bag of the sugar, use 1/3 of it to get the Kool-Aid to your liking. So it's still not as cheap as we think it is. Another thing we can do is think beyond just beef. Think beyond, there are ways that we can substitute sometimes beef. There are ground up almonds resemble ground beef. There are ways that we can plan ahead. It is always more expensive when we are planning just for the now and for the day, especially when you have multiple children, versus planning out your meals. Also, we need to monitor the portion sizes that our kids are doing. Even if you're going to buy that whole pack of 20 juicies, your kids should not be drinking 5 of them in a day. Unacceptable. You can have 1 a day, and whether you take it to school with you or drink it at dinner time, everything else is going to be water. We don't give our children enough water. Also, monitor the frequency. Has anybody ever had a box of fruit snacks in your house, and before you know it, all 10 packs of those fruit snacks are gone? You're like, I bought them a day. Where have they gone? We're not monitoring how frequently our kids are going into the kitchen to snack. We're not monitoring how often we're hearing that bag of chips or something rumble and ruffle in the kitchen. And we're letting them just go. And before you know it, now you're mad because you're like, how am I going to keep buying all these snacks for you all to be eaten up? Yeah. When we letting them sit and eat the whole box of oatmeal cream pies. We're not setting boundaries on how much you can have a day. That also teaches responsibility to the children. It gives them the opportunity to make a decision. Am I going to want this at school, or am I going to wait till I get home to have this in my stack because my mom said I can only have 1? And once that 1 is gone, it's either grapes or it's pickles or it's carrots or it's celery or it's an apple. We have to begin to include them in on what they're eating. Begin to reward the good habits. Begin to reward the good choices of foods. That was really nice. That's cool that you chose to get the apple instead of that. And watch how that works. Believe it or not, some positive reinforcement from parents goes a long way with children. Goes a long way with children.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions at the moment?
I can't see the question.
I just have a comment. Okay. I agree with everything that's being said. However, I have worked in the schools in the past. I do work in healthcare now. And I wouldn't say that the children are the problem, it's the parents. So our parents are they're not concerned about food. They eat all the fast foods themselves. That's what they give their children. And they're not interested in healthy eating. So I think there's no motivation for them to, pack healthy meals for their kids to go to lunch, to have at lunch or at home. They just give them the same things they're eating.
I totally agree. We do. We feed our children what we're eating. And the sad part is that we don't care enough to change our eating so that everybody's on the same page. It's like, don't touch my Pepsi. Y'all drink water. Okay. Don't touch my oatmeal cream pie. Y'all get apples. Okay, they're in the house and you're trying to tell children to control their desire for sugar and junk when we don't control our desire and our want for junk. I didn't realize until I think my baby was probably 3 years old that I was like, I will say this, because I work the way I do, I was one of those parents where convenience was key, meaning it was along the lines of the ramen noodle things. Oh, those were like a lifesaver. And I'm talking about the bad ones, the ones that are already crusted in the little rectangle. You literally drop in the water, let it soften up, and put the little seasoning pack. My daughter loved those things. And then it wasn't until I was like, these things are full of sodium. It made me start changing the way I ate. And when I changed the way I ate, it changed the way she ate. And now she'll say, can I have this instead of this? She'll say, well, mommy, if I eat the fruit snack now, I'll have the grapes later. But like, I totally agree with you. It's a lot of us as parents, because a lot of times it's on the go. We're all working, we're all busy, we're all over the place. So then it becomes this thing of what's quick, what's convenient. You can eat McDonald's in the car, and then by the time we get home, get in the house, do your homework, get in the shower, get your pajamas on, you're starting all over again. So you're right.
Well, didn't mean to draw a line.
So how do you motivate the parents to do that, to be better?
So my suggestion would be to educate the parents. Remember, a lot of us learn from our parents. You can go to the next slide. We don't push healthy eating. We don't push eating more veggies and fruits than we eat anything. We're a generation where bread. Bread swells up in the intestines. Bread is full of carbs. Bread is one of the worst things ever, to be honest. It's the best tasting thing ever. We all can list off 3 restaurants where the biscuits or the rolls are like, by the time your food comes, you're like, I didn't ask for 3 baskets of these rolls or these biscuits. But it's all about having control of it. A lot of times we eat to be full and stuffed, not to eat. We don't eat just to not be hungry. And so educating our families, our parents on things that help them stay healthy. I think usually when I'm here, I put it in sometimes it's harsh. I put it into perspective of even if you don't care about your health, care enough about your kids to be healthy. Now we quick to jump down the teacher's throat, and we quick to jump down somebody's throat that's talking crazy or loud to our children, but we're not quick to get on our own selves when we're killing them from the inside out. We wonder why a lot of this stuff has so much preservatives in it. If anybody is in my age bracket, do you remember when the milk had a yellow tinge to it? It doesn't have that anymore. It doesn't have that. It is pure, stark chalk white. Why? Because there are preservatives added into it. Do you remember your mom and grandma having to go to the store every 2 to 3 days to get a loaf of bread, or 2 to 3 days to get milk? Now you can get milk and it'll last 3 weeks. It'll last a month. We think that's good. That's not good. There are additives and preservatives inside of these things that are giving them a longer shelf life. Anything that has a long shelf life isn't that healthy for you. Our bananas, they're lasting a lot longer. Your mom used to buy some, they'd be on the counter 2 days and they start to turn brown. Now they're on the counter a good week before they're turning brown. Why? Because they are being sprayed and they're being treated with additives to give them the longer shelf life. Those same preservatives are hormones. Those same hormones are what's making our little girls start their cycles at 9 instead of 13 and 14. Those same preservatives are what are giving our little girls hair under their arms and down in their private area at 8 and 9. So can you imagine an 8 or 9-year-old starting her cycle when she's trying to even deal with puberty? You can't really prepare an 8 or 9-year-old for puberty. Realize that when they start into puberty, they're starting into womanhood. So now you're having to teach her about hygiene. That can be challenging to some of these children. It can be traumatic to some of these children. But we're giving them things with preservatives and additives in it. We're giving them McDonald's, who almost everybody has watched that YouTube special where that burger took the burger probably didn't break down for about a year. The fry they kept for how long? That's not a good thing, that you lose a fry in your car and you can tell it's a fry a year later. Not a good thing. It's not good. So how do you think that's breaking down? Do you really think it's even breaking down in our digestive system? Remember, digestion starts in the mouth when you're chewing it up and the saliva mixes with it for you to swallow it down. Your small and large intestines, they pull out the nutrients. Now, if something like a McDonald's French fry doesn't break, it takes, I don't know how long to break down. What do you think it's doing? Do you think it's even giving any nutritional value in your intestine? And we don't think about that a lot of times. We don't think about that. We don't think about that what goes in has to come out. Then you wonder why your children are tired after eating, because they're not getting any nutritional value out of it. So we need to get our kids into physical activities. That's another way. I'm sorry, that was another way, another thing I had written down. Some of the signs and symptoms, I did write these down, of childhood diabetes is them being overweight, them having stretch marks. I'm starting to see more children with stretch marks. Children with stretch marks. Us ladies know what that comes from, but children with stretch marks. Binge eating, meaning they're 1 minute they are hungry like they haven't eaten in a year, and the next minute they're not. Then they're back binge eating, then they're not. Low self-esteem, early puberty, those are all signs and symptoms of childhood diabetes. Sleep apnea. I'm starting to see more parents come in and say, my child is snoring like they are calling the halls. That shouldn't be for a child. So things that we can do is getting them involved. Nowadays, it costs an arm and a leg to get your kids into activities. My mom, we were welfare recipients. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had two biological sisters, but 3 sisters. There were 4 girls that my mom raised. We shared a room. There were 2 bunk beds in our room. My mom was the mom who couldn't afford to put us in a whole bunch of activities. She went and bought a bucket of chalk. Every day there was a 4-square competition outside. Every day she drew a starting line and a finish line for us to run and chase each other and run against each other down the street. There are jump ropes. Our kids don't even know how to do some of the things we did. Jump ropes, hula hoops, things they can do in the house. Jacks. That teaches eye-hand coordination. All of those things. Hopscotch. In my day, it was a punishment for your mom to tell you to stay in the house. Nowadays, it's a punishment if your mom tells you to go outside. There ain't nothing to do outside. It's hot. I'd rather be on my iPhone. I'd rather be playing my game. We have to start setting boundaries with our kids. You can get an hour or 2 on the game if you're an hour or 2 doing something physical. Get outside, bounce the ball. Our children don't even know how to do things that would keep us busy for hours. Basic things that don't cost much. They can get into school activities for free. There are some activities that are free at the school. So other than educating our families, I'm not sure what else, because there are some parents that just don't care. It's sad to say they're not concerned enough, because then what it does is it makes us look at ourselves. It makes us have to see what we're eating. It makes us have to address our lack of physical activity, because a lot of times when you're getting your kid when you're first starting to start that locomotive and you pull that string to start that motor going with being outside, you have to be out there with them to show them. How many children don't even know how to ride bikes? They don't anymore. Sorry, I got off on my soapbox.
You're fine. I feel like I was the last generation that did some of those things, but also that generation that liked to be inside a little bit. I don't even know. I don't count as a millennial, but I don't relate to the kids eating Tide Pods and on TikTok. So I don't know. I'm in between.
TikTok is raising our kids. TikTok is Snapchat, TikTok. What's the little other one? Snapchat, TikTok, something else. It's raising our Instagram. It's raising our kids. Just off on another tangent, and I'm gonna shut up. Childhood suicide rates have almost tripled. They have almost because of things like TikTok, where we have allowed our kids to try these challenges. We allow our kids to watch TikTok hours after hours after hours on their phones. And not only are they trying these challenges, but they're following people who are showing them the life they want them to see. It's not reality. They don't live that lavish life all the time. They are not that pretty and dolled up all the time. But children are beginning to think that that's what it is. And there have been so many, there are so many children with body dysmorphia, body image dysmorphia, where they think everything about me is wrong. Everything about me is messed up. I wish my boobs were smaller. I wish they were bigger. I wish my butt was bigger. I wish my butt was smaller. We are all fearfully and wonderfully made. And we, don't get me wrong, we've all went through that phase. I went through the phase where I was like, oh my gosh, if I could just pick up a little weight, Jesus. Then I was like, look, I was thin yesterday. I woke up thin this morning. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be the same size tomorrow. And that's it. Love it, leave it. So sorry about the music.
And that also counts as food. I mean, what we feed our brains contribute as much as what we feed our stomachs.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So,
I think Sydney had a comment earlier, or did you change your mind?
I had a question, but it was kind of already answered. I can ask it anyway. My question was, what would you suggest for like the parents that work super long hours and like the process of being able to actually like plan out your diet and like your child's diet are a difficulty or a challenge for them? Because me personally growing up, that was so difficult for us to do. So we were the kids that ate out all the time. But yeah.
So let me say that I empathize with you because I am that parent. I am the single mom. I literally run the urgent care. I literally work 2 jobs outside of here, believe it or not. And I am like that with my kids. So it's tight. So what I have done, what has proven to be best for me is we grocery shop on Mondays. Sundays are full of church and us relaxing. Mondays after school, we grocery shop for the week. Another thing is, depending on the age of your child, get them involved. You can pick one snack at the grocery store for the week. So it'll teach you how to ration out. There are 5 days in your school week. So when you come home from school, you better make sure you eating 1 or just 2 a day of whatever that is. Meal planning. And I'm not talking about planning filet mignon. I'm talking about, I'm gonna bake a few chicken breasts. I'm gonna brown some ground beef or some ground turkey. I'll make some spaghetti. I'll make some sloppy joes. I'll make some chicken breasts or chicken tenders, because I'll cut some up and fry them, or I'll make some chicken tenders where I'll bake them and we can put them on a salad. It is an effort, Sydney. I am not gonna lie to you. It is a joint. It can be time consuming, but set time aside on 1 or 2 days a week to do it. And then what we can do, we all buy those little Tupperware things, put those Tupperware things in there and put them in the refrigerator. So they can
save them from the fast food.
Pull them out, put them in the microwave and eat that. I'm not saying that it has to be like, oh, squashing this every single day. As a parent, you are doing what you need to do to live your life and get by. What I am saying is that whatever you cook is healthier than whatever you're buying in the drive-thru. I don't know if that helped. Did that help, Sydney? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. That helped. It definitely did. Yeah, see, I'm the oldest of 3 siblings, and like my little brother is younger, a lot younger. So I was like, oh, we probably should try to, start implementing stuff in the house, because my mom works a lot of long hours. But my sister and I are pretty much adults now. so we can kind of take care of ourselves. But it's more so him.
Yeah. I mean, get him involved. What do you like? Let me tell you, the one thing that was my best friend is those darn crock pots. That is something you dump whatever you cooking into it before you leave the house, put it on low, and honey, it won't burn it. By the time you come home, it'll be completely done. That was one of my best, that thing saved my life a lot of times. But there are ways, meal planning and prepping. Meaning this is what, even if your refrigerator has to look like it's on MTV Cribs because you got all these plastic bowls and things in there, then that's what you do. We have to do for our kids. But it is time consuming. But my suggestion is to take one day, do it all, and then store it in there, the freezer or refrigerator, and pull it out. Even if my mom is big on making chili, and then she'll freeze it. And then the day before we're gonna eat it, she'll sit it out to thaw and it's ready to roll to microwave. My daughter right now knows how to make oatmeal in the microwave. She knows how to make, she knows how to heat anything up that's like leftover. She knows how to put it in the microwave. She knows to push the button, and I've been teaching her how to be kind of independent with that. And she's little miss going on 46, but that's another thing. Try that.
We have something in the chat.
Okay. Let me see if I can.
For participating, Rico, the president of Black Power Initiative, would like to offer you a free gift card. Please drop your emails if you're interested in receiving one. So this is a chance to get a gift card if you just provide your email. Of course, Miss Jamie, you are getting a appreciation package, so you can't enter this drawing.
I'll drop my email. Anybody, if you have any questions, feel free.
Let me go back to your urgent care page.
I am that person. You can call up here. Sometimes I will say this: if I do not get to the phone and you leave a voicemail, give me about a day to call you back. Only because sometimes I'm here alone. I have a bunch of students and my MAs that come in, and they're all in school because I try to work with everybody. So sometimes I'm here alone running the front and the back. And if I'm in the room with a patient, I won't stop to answer the phone. I'll let the phone just ring. But because all of my patients I care about, everybody's important to me. I'm going to post my email here. Feel free to email me any questions that you have, and I will definitely respond back to them. Message me on Instagram or Facebook. I'll get to it. I usually check it at the very end of the night after my daughter's down, or I am that early bird. I get up every morning at 5 a.m. Because that's when my mind is like moving 1,000 miles an hour. And that's when I respond to emails, and I do work, and I do my reading, and I do my meditation. I do my prayer. It's literally like at 5 a.m. So I will get back with you. Stop by, say hello, wave. Yeah, I'm here the majority of the time. And if I'm not here, usually my mom's here. She does the same thing that I do. So I got her working for free because we're a startup. So we're here.
Could you tell me the address? Do you know it by heart?
Yes, my address is 5082 Glen Crossing Way. We are in the plaza. There's a hair salon on one side of me, and then a hair supply store, Pretty and Polished, I think is what it is. We're in the same plaza where the bargains and buyouts is. So we sit directly behind Izzy's. If you're driving by, there's a building that blocks us coming from one way and a tree that blocks us the other way. But we sit right in the bend of the plaza. But we're here. So.
And I can vouch for her. I was a patient. That's how I met her. I was a patient. And then my partner was a patient, and she got us together. And so she's great. And
I usually don't. I don't turn anybody away either. Just come, because I have this thing where I don't want anybody to feel like they have to get subpar healthcare because they're either underinsured or uninsured. That is just not a thing for me. I can't. When I tell you, that gets under my skin. So feel free to come. Any questions? Anything? I'm always here. I'm usually sitting at the desk unless I'm in with a patient. So.
Yeah, she is great. So thank you everyone for coming. I will do a last call for questions or comments or anything you want to share your thoughts? Would you like to do, see more workshops like these?
Thank you all for having me.
Of course. Really quick, I will just jump to the Get Involved page. So if you scan this QR code, it will take you to our website. You can volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers. Donate. We are a 501c3, so it is tax deductible. It's tax time. And then look for our future programs and events. We do have a book drive coming up for the Love of Literacy for all of February, where we will be collecting gently used or new books that are from Black authors or people of color, as well as featuring us in diverse settings. We aren't all the rags to riches or trauma, dramatic stories that we are forced to read in schools. And then on March 12th from 1 to 4, we will be having our culmination of the book drive, the Love of Literacy event at the Winton CRC, where we will have a speaker, and then children will be able to go and pick books. We'll have read alouds, and then there will be free skating at the end of the event.
Oh.
So stay posted, and then all of our social medias at the bottom. If you ever need any of us, feel free to call, email, text. We are pretty young, so we make ourselves available pretty much 24/7. Other than that, thank you. My name is Jasmine Miller, and it has been a pleasure having you, Miss Jamie Colvin.
The pleasure has been mine. Thank you, everyone. Sorry about the mix up in the beginning. I appreciate everyone even attending. Don't forget, pass along the word. Until we all are where we need to be, none of us are. So pass it along. Our children are our future. Our children are the ones that have to take care of us. We have to get to where we care about their health.
Thank you for doing what you do. Keep doing it. Good job, Jasmine.
Good
That's
job,
my mom.
Great job, Jasmine.